Hey, party people, it's Cliff. Good morning. You know something that happens in my YouTube feed? I get a whole bunch of videos that are very negative, doom and gloom, world's coming to an end, the sky is falling, and that might very well be the case. But I don't know, there's this like air of this feeling that it's all over, and man, I can tell you, I've lived through all of it. Not all of it, but you look at history and you realize that all of the most important events that happen in history and all of the conflict and the terrible tragedies that happen, you realize like it's just another day. Like, I don't mind. I don't want these tragedies to happen. It's terrible. It's like another school shooting happens, and yet, for the last 20 years, every other time a school shooting happens, like, everyone's like, oh, it's not guns' fault, and it is guns' fault, and it's like, well, guns, it's a sensitive topic, but it always happens. I remember in high school, golly, and now I'm doing it too. I trying to make this video positive, and look at me. I'm trying. It's coming down and making it negative. Let me see if I could like adjust this up a little bit. There we go. But yeah, every time there's always like problems in the world, and you gotta find the thing that makes you passionate. You got to find the thing that you really care about, just one thing, and then focus on doing that. There's one girl on there who wasn't paying, decided not to pay her taxes because tax day is coming up, and all right, well, that's okay, but rebelling and getting views isn't going to affect a lot of change. It's like, look, for instance, that guy that burned down the the warehouse with all the paper products in it. That's like, he's put in prison. He's probably gonna be a hero or an anti-hero, just like Luigi Maloney or Manloney or whatever his name is. There's going to be copycats. I mean, it's the same thing with school shooters too. It's like, school shooter shoots up people, and then, and then people copycat it. I don't get it. I just try to, every now and again, you just be a little bit more positive than the last person, and I don't know. It's a mental health crisis. I tried to start this video off with a positive note, but it looks like those are the things we got to talk about, is those negative things. But that's another thing too, is like, in Hollywood, that's what sells: drama, sex, violence. And you got to think to yourself, like, okay, well, why does it sell, right? Why do you, when you're driving along the road and you see an accident, police cars around, fire trucks around, you slow down and stop? You slow down, you look at it, you watch it. Why? Because, it's not normal. Because it's something new that you haven't seen before. It's an accident. And I remember in high school, every year some kids would get killed in a car accident, and it's not normal. Hopefully it's rare, it's unique, and you want to do all the things to prevent it, but like, eventually it got to a point where it's like, all right, it's new school year, like, which kids are going to die in a car accident this year? And I remember driving by the highway and seeing it was a Mitsubishi Eclipse, like a 96 or 99 or something like that, or 2001, just all mangled up and all like trashed, and I can't do anything about it. I wish I could. I wish I could tell those kids, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't drive so fast, Of course, I was also being a dumb kid, long ago, but I happened to survive, luckily. So, yeah, that's about as clear cut as you can get. The the state of things, like, because you have your personal state of things, right? Like, you're always in an anxiety, or you let the news or the media or social media or YouTube videos like get into you. And even though, and I guess that's the thing, right, is like, I could watch all these YouTube videos about all these people who are down on their luck, and their life situation is terrible, whether they made those decisions or whether they didn't make those decisions. And then I can, reach that conclusion, like, oh, the world is terrible and it's horrible. Yet if I, watch, 75 videos from people who took their kids to Disney World, and, or like the new at Universal Studios with the new Fast and Furious roller coaster, there's going to be videos out of that. And I watch all of that all day, I'm going to think the world's a great place. So there is a bit of managing expectations. There's a bit of understanding, like, the ongoings of the news. I think like the U.S. opened fire on one of the Iranian warships, or not warships, but Iran cargo ship that's trying to reach port in the Strait of Hormuz. And if I was commander in chief, we wouldn't be at war. So you could vote for me if you wanted, but we're not in that situation, right? Like, heck, it's interesting. I called the blockade, 3 weeks before it happened. I'm like, it's the power moves, that the things that countries make. Nobody can say it, right? But I got my conspiracy theory, which is big for another time. But yeah, that's kind of like, depending on your view of the world and where you are, like, man, it's a bummer. But also, depending on where you are, like, depending on who you're with, it's fine. Yeah, it sucks. You got to pay an extra couple of dollars for a gallon of gas, and the business might suffer. Can't take the kids on vacation, all these little things. But at the same time, there's systems and financial structures in place, to where if you take advantage of those, like, systems, in a very calculated, a very, like, proper way, then you should be fine. That's the way I look at it. I mean, get this, right? Like, when you're watching a YouTube video, look at all the stuff in the background of those people who are, like, talking about, just the certain subjects, right? Like, you're always going to get people who have, like, I can't make my rent. It's like, well, you got a pretty big house, and you bought it because, you had your family and all that. And yeah, granted, I'm single, 45, and, it's just like, when I look at what's important, right? Like, I can't get a girlfriend. It's not that I can't. I can. I could go out and do it right now, no problem. But the cost, like, right? Because I just got laid off from my job. I'm doing fine on my own, but to bring another person into my life and to do that, and to, do the whole providing thing, and, and build a relationship up. The hard part isn't finding somebody to go out with in the date. It's really everything else that comes after it. Because it's like, my little place, it's a studio. One person, totally fine. Two people, can't live in there. I don't know. I always think that there's trade-offs with decisions. Yeah, but that's the world we live in. So who knows what this what this thing. I'm trying to be positive. Maybe that's why I like like all them video games is because video games, at least, like, or movies or entertainment, at least takes you out of the real world for half a second. And I guess the thing is, right, like, if you wanted to enact change and you wanted to, make the world a better place, it's like, that guy that burned down the factory with the paper towels. I'm like, all right, yeah, he didn't get paid enough, but he put 600 firefighters at risk, when they were trying to put out that fire. He put other employees at risk. Other people may have died. I'm gonna have to tighten this up or whatever it is, whatever it's doing. But you do something drastic like that, yeah, you'll get in the news, but you put people at risk, and that's just, it's just not gonna fly. So there's gonna be, 600 firefighters who are upset. There's going to be all the other employees who were doing their jobs, who were making ends meet, with that place, that lost money, or could also very well lose their jobs too. So, what did he really accomplish? He ruined himself. He ruined a whole bunch of other people. He sent a message. Everybody's talking about it. Big old warehouse fire. But you know what? Like, insurance or big investors are gonna just rebuild it up again, and it's gonna be a factory in or it's gonna be a warehouse in 3 months, and it's gonna have all those paper products back in it in 6 months. And then that's it. There'll be a little thing on the wall, or maybe there'll be a prevention, system that'll happen with that, that factory or the fire. But I guess I'm getting off subject here. Not necessarily off subject. I don't even know what subject I'm talking about. But, those guys could have went to their local city district and figured out how to, work in politics. Like, nobody wants to work in politics, but people who want to work in politics have a passion, or at least they should, in order to change and help out and better their community. So, well, that was a gutsy move there, buddy. You cut in front of this semi truck. I mean, fair enough. People are gonna hustle. But at the end of the day, it's like, even as much as like the ginormous like politics, like that profession does, if you are a politician and you do get voted in and you do, get into like that kind of service, then at least you can change something small over time. And over time, when you change something small, eventually those changes lead to something big. So, I think that's another thing too, is like, I'm thinking about it, because like, I think it's the same with money, right? In the sense of investments. And you get, like, for instance, you go to Vegas, you go to the blackjack table, you put $100 on red, you win $100 on red, right? That's that's, for lack of a better term, you have just invested $100, and the risk was like 1,000%, and then you got it, right? And so it's you hear risk versus reward, right? So let's say you put your money into the S&P 500, and you put your money into, like, just general stocks, just separated all over the place. Well, that risk is lower, but over time you're going to gain. You're predicted to gain more. And there's all different kinds of like risk reward factors, and it just depends on what you want to risk your money on, and if you're going to lose it or not. And I don't know. That's a subject for another time, I suppose. I'm just going to chill behind this dump truck because I don't need to get into work too fast. Oh man, I guess that's another question you'd be asking, is like, well, why are you going into work? Because they laid you off. And I'm like, well, it's the people I work with. I love them. They're great. They're amazing people. The work that I do, I think, is relevant to what my purpose is in life. Entertainment and, making people happy. And And yeah, to get that, to get all the other things that come with layoffs, you know. So, but I don't mind. It's, you know, it's what's a few extra months after 10 years? Well, that's about it. I hope I tried to be a little bit more positive than negative, but you know, the negative sells and all that, you know, all that stuff, and it doesn't sell. It's just like that's the thing that everyone talks about because our minds are like wired to go after, to like link into things that are, you know, not normal, like. And you just understand that all the craziness, all the stuff in the news that you see is just, it's just not normal. It's not like a normal day in the life of what you're doing. So I hope you guys are good out there. Hope you guys are staying safe. But until next time, you know, be good out there.